Okay, guys, this is meant to answer questions I get quite frequently about how are monks in 5.1, and I was sort of really confused when 5.1 hit, so I didn't even bother making the video when it was released or like pre-patch notes because the big thing that changed was PvP weapons got double the PvP power, which I'll be honest, completely shat on any PvE weapon you may have thought of using because certain Shaw-touched weapons with the gem were on par, if not better, than Tier 2. So adding PvP power definitely fixed that. Unfortunately, they didn't really add much damage reduction to make up for it. That in itself is one of the bigger issues with this patch, so I was kind of caught up in what to do about that. And I guess all you really can do is gym full resilience and play a warrior because they have passive bark skin. Uh, but it, that's sort of the delay I've had on it. And then they've released a couple of hotfixes that have really changed stuff. So I was just gonna talk about how monks are in this, even though I know it's really late. I'm sorry for that. Anyway, nothing all that huge was changed for monks in 5.1. We got 10% move speed on whatever stance I'm forced to be in, and I don't have any option about. So just sort of permanently have 10% move speed, which is nice. It allows you to hit casters and somewhat makes up for the lack of a gap closer, although it's nothing compared to feral druids who actually have a gap closer. So it's kind of weird, but even so, it's a really nice buff. It's a good quality of life one. Other things that changed. Let's see. Tiger Palm. That's what it's called. The armor pen buff. Stacks at 1, which is actually really, really nice. It was sort of tricky to use, stacking it 3 times and then having it be like fear to off instead of just using the one stack. And although I'd say there's still a couple things they need to change about it. For example, the mastery proc right now giving Tiger Palm feels so useless because you don't have to stack it 3 times. It's not like, oh sweet, I have a free 10% armor pin that I don't have to waste resources for. It's sort of like, oh, I have a useless ability that does no damage now for free. So that could use a little bit of changing, but other than that, it's a really good buff. It definitely frees up globals and is a lot less annoying. Um, just the way you have to deal with it, having a warrior charge you, be stunned for 1.5 seconds, and then instantly having 50% armor pin and taking half your health before you can even stack up Tiger Palm, is pretty annoying. Um, let's see, Chi Wave got completely butchered. They cut it by like 25% for uh, all monks because it is or was the strongest heal by far. Uh, on top of that, they nerfed off healing by some percent. I think it just stops healing PvP power, so roughly 25%. But healers only get half PvP power or of what DPS classes show. So it's really only half of what I have, which with the buff is about 50%, so 25. Is a little bit overkill. And then added in the hot fix that they added, which is I think 15 to 30% healing reduction. They like buffed it. Pretty much makes the ability useless. I don't know when these games were recorded. I think it was before the patch that did the most recent healing nerf, which would be the extra 15%. Uh, so it's probably a little bit higher than live right now, which is still kind of low. Um, anyway, overall, I think the monk changes were pretty good. I feel like I'm missing one. I don't know. I may be missing one. If you know what it was, it's probably a decent change. I thought all of them were good quality of life buffs. Uh, they still need to do a couple things like fixes on for sure. That's definitely the top priority on my list. I can deal with everything else, but uh, overall, it's pretty good changes for monks, and they were pretty insignificant in terms of actually affecting the game. They were just quality of life buffs, which are the best kind, honestly. I don't want to end up being just retardedly overpowered. Let's see, the hot fixes were really dumb that they did. However, I'm not gonna be like negative because for one of the first seasons I've noticed, they are changing things in a very good way. For example, yes, they nerfed healing by 30% is what the buff's currently at in Arena, on top of whatever they may have already had in. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's kind of annoying, especially with where DPS classes are. However, what I take it to mean is they're somewhat aware that only certain DPS classes are actually capable of putting out that kind of pressure, and they nerf the healing so that other classes can be viable. So I think hopefully they'll put damage in a relatively good state. You know, toning down Pharaoh Druids, Warriors. They already did mages a little bit, but just fixing some of the things that go on and making it a little bit more playable because it is kind of ridiculous. Anyway, that change just sort of shows that like they're trying to do it the correct way. And then there's a couple other things that went through. As of 5.1, Taste for Blood only stacked to 3. As of the most recent hotfix in PvP, it only stacks to 1, which is pretty good. I honestly think warriors do fine damage if they can maintain uptime, which it may be difficult for some matchups, but trust me, as a warrior right now, you deal with a lot less mobility issues and uptime than almost every other class, so you shouldn't really worry about it. I guess the only ones who actually top that are Pharaoh Druids, which are absolutely retarded right now. Frostbomb, the impact glyph got nerfed. I think, I'm not sure, I haven't seen enough testing on it yet, but the activation time for it to naturally explode got reduced, and I hear rumors of the actual natural exploding damage going up, which may be a bit of an issue, simply because if you ring the healer and bomb them, the DPS sits there. I'll give RMP as an example. Everyone triple stealths in. It's almost a guaranteed ring on the healer. The mage frost bombs it. 4 seconds later, the rogue opens, dances Shadow Blades, and you're almost guaranteed dead if it actually is increased in damage, because it hits for, I don't know, I'll use the example Gannett gave me. It was about 180k on training dummies before. It's about 240k now. I don't know what he did to do that. If there's a variant in procs, if there's a damage range on it potentially, but it definitely seems like it went up. But it takes more effort to actually get off correctly. So it's a good change, but it may have issues. Other things. Oh, they nerfed PV on use trinkets. That was a great change. That's really good for everyone, although I mess it up all the time and keep forgetting it's a 1 minute cooldown, not a 2 minute cooldown. So, kind of bad play on my part. It's just something I have to get used to. That on use is now 1 minute, and use it more frequently. So, that's a really good change because it was, on use trinkets were way too powerful. Gaining 50% attack power from hitting one button is like almost as strong as recklessness. It's ridiculous how powerful on use were. And then also some classes got more benefit out of it. Like, actually I don't know if they did. I think they may have equalized everything. Intelligence or intellect or whatever. Maybe it's spell power that you get from like caster on use. Might scale a little bit differently. I know agility is 1-to-1 raw attack power. I swear strength is, or not 1-to-1, 2-to-1. You get 2 per agility. So it was a 50% damage increase. I don't know if strength is the same way. Strength is the same way. But anyway, overall they've done some fairly good changes, and thanks for watching.